Hi everyone, we're here with English for You from home. I'm Kat,
And I'm Chickling.
and as you can see, we are not in our normal places today. I am on my patio. What about you, Chickling?
I am in my attic.
Oh, very cool. I hope
hmm
it's not filled with ghosts or anything.
I don't think so. Maybe there
I don't.
is.
Oh, but maybe if there were, you'd be able to tell if you are a sensitive person. Are you sensitive to anything in your daily life, do you think?
Yes, I am. And I'm
Like what?
sensitive to smell
Oh,
or
really?
noises, like people
Oh.
chewing or eating with their mouths open.
Oh, yeah. People chewing really loudly also bothers me.
What about
But
you?
I get more bothered by like loud noises. Like if the music is too loud in a shop, I really can't stand it. I have to leave.
So you never go to a pub or anything like that?
Oh, I do. If I know that it's gonna be loud, it's okay. But like if I go in a place and the music is louder than I expected, I feel very disturbed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we're actually, I think we might be part of the group that we're going to talk about in this article today.
hmm
Students who are watching this might be too. I
Yeah.
think it's a really interesting one. So why don't we go ahead and take a look and we'll find out what we're talking about.
Reading.
Life as a highly sensitive person. Are you sensitive to loud noises, uncomfortable clothes, bright lights, or strong smells? Are you more aware of others' moods than most people? Are you easily stressed by conflict but also deeply moved by beauty? If your answer is yes to most of these questions, you might be a highly sensitive person, HSP. This isn't a medical condition to worry about. On the contrary, it's a special part of your personality. Around 15 to 20% of people are HSPs. They experience strong physical, mental, or emotional reactions to stimuli. This personality feature has both good points and bad points. HSPs are sensitive to small details and good at talking with others. They often help others process their emotions. However, HSPs may get overwhelmed by high stimulus environments and may need to spend time alone. They can get upset easily and may not put their own emotional needs first. HSPs need lots of time to make decisions because they consider every detail carefully.
Okay, so our article starts out today by saying, are you sensitive to loud noises, uncomfortable clothes, bright lights, or strong smells? So we've kind of asked each other that question already, and turns out, yeah, we are. Loud sounds in public make me feel uncomfortable. If a group of people in a bar laughs very suddenly, very loudly, I feel like I have to cover my ears. Yeah.
Okay.
But we have a word in here already, which is sensitive. So sensitive is our first vocabulary word. It is an adjective. If you are sensitive to something like us, it means things can affect you very easily. Maybe loud noises hurt you, or maybe you feel very hurt in your heart if somebody says something bad about you. Or if you have strong lights coming at you in an office, like a bright white light, it might hurt your head. Being sensitive means you just feel things very, very strongly. And that's why the word sense is in this word sensitive for seeing, hearing, smelling, and other things like that. It can also mean that you feel things very strongly. Like if you watch a sad movie, you might cry very easily, right? So an example sentence could be Chloe is sensitive to flashing lights, as she sometimes faints when she's around them.
OK，所以 sensitive 它就是有敏感的意思。那老师刚刚有说，我们文章其实就有提到说，你有没有对什么事情很敏感？所以你对什么事情很敏感，其实英文就是 be sensitive to something。那我们也可以指很脆弱啊，或者是很娇嫩的，like your teeth, your skin。所以你可以说 I have sensitive skin，就是脆弱的皮肤。 所以你可以讲一个句子说 Avoid using perfumed soaps if you have sensitive skin. 就如果呢你的皮肤比较娇嫩的话，就尽量不要用有加香精的香皂。这个文章就说你对大声的噪音啊、不舒服的服装、很强烈的光跟气味会很敏感吗？ Like I so am.
Things. And the next question that we see is, are you more aware of others' moods than most people? So now we're talking about being aware of moods. So before we get to aware, which is our next vocabulary word, we want to talk about what is a mood. Someone's mood is the way they're feeling. Are they in a bad mood, a good mood, a peaceful mood, a happy mood? So if you're aware, maybe it's easy for you to realize when someone feels a certain way. Aware is an adjective that's kind of similar to sensitive, but it means you know something and you can notice and understand it. For example, our parents often tell us when we're kids to be aware of what's around us. We should be aware of the space that we're in and what the people around us are doing so that we don't bump into things or run into people, things like that. Being aware of people's feelings is also important in social settings. Like if somebody is feeling sad because they had a breakup, you probably don't want to ask about their boyfriend or girlfriend or talk about your boyfriend or girlfriend in front of them. That will make them feel really sad. You got to be aware. But some people notice others' feelings more easily than others. So an example sentence could be, drivers should be aware of kids and drive slowly in this neighborhood because there's a school here.
OK, 所以 aware 就是知道的或者是意识到的。那这个字呢，我们也可以说 be aware of something 或者是 someone，代表注意到什么。那当然也可以不要用 of， 你可以说 be aware that， 然后后面加一个句子。比如说 he wasn't aware that he had hit someone with his truck， 代表他根本不知道他的卡车已经撞到人了。那这个字呢，如果你要把它变成名词，只要在后面加上 ness 变成 awareness 就好了，就是意识的意思。所以文章就是说，你是不是比别人更容易注意到其他人的情绪？
So we've already learned what it means to be sensitive, to be aware, and then we have one more question about maybe this is the kind of person you are. The article says, are you easily stressed by conflict, but also deeply moved by beauty? If you say that you're moved by something, it's like your heart is, oh, wow. Oh, so great, you know.
Yeah， 所以呢，他就说，文章就说，你会不会很容易因为冲突就感到很压力，或者是呢，会不会被美丽的事物深深的感动 ？Like you see something beautiful on TV, and then you're like, oh, that's so beautiful, and then you're so moved by it， 就是你很感动。
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I cry when I see beautiful things.
Oh.
Yeah. So if you answered yes to a bunch of these questions, the article says, if your answer is yes to most of these questions, you might be a highly sensitive person, or HSP. Yeah, so I think we're all HSPs here. A similar word to this is an empath. So somebody who is an empath has a lot of empathy, and empathy is kind of the ability to feel others' feelings like they're yours. So you take in other people's feelings. Like if they feel really good, you feel really good with them. If they feel really bad, you feel really bad with them. That's empathy. But I think highly sensitive people are a little bit different.
所以老师讲的这个字指的就是你是有同理心的人。那文章就说呢，如果以上大部分这些东西你的答案都是有，我好像有这样子，那代表你可能就是高敏感人哦。
So, yeah, you might be an HSP. But don't worry about it. The article says this isn't a medical condition to worry about. On the contrary, it's a special part of your personality. If you are an HSP, you don't have a medical condition. It's not something a doctor will tell you. You might find out through counseling or taking a test. So a condition is a noun that means something like an illness, a syndrome, or something that's wrong with somebody physically or mentally that can be treated with medicine or therapy, although it might not be able to be cured. Usually, if we talk about something as a condition, it's ongoing. It's not a short-term illness. So like if you have a cold, that's not a condition. However, things like genetic diseases or losing your memories or having sensitive body parts or serious allergies, those are conditions. Depression and mental illness are also conditions. And somebody will usually explain if they have a condition by telling what it does to their body, how it affects them. So for example, Kelsey has a condition that makes her bones easy to break, so she has to be careful in her daily life. So Chicolin can tell you more about the word condition and also about our grammar point today, which is transition words.
OK，所以 condition 它就是疾病的意思。所以老师刚刚讲了很多，疾病并不像是我们感冒，我们感冒那种就不算是疾病。condition 比较像是老师刚刚讲有基因性的这些疾病比较算是，比如说你的心脏疾病，那就是 a heart condition。那 condition 这个字呢，除了当疾病，它有状况啊或者是条件的意思，甚至你直接说 conditions，它就可以代表一件事情的环境或者是实际状况。比如说 the working conditions in the factory are horrible， 代表呢这一些工厂里面的环境是非常可怕，会非常糟糕的。所以文章意思就是说，这个呢高敏人并不是一个很令人担心的疾病哦，它只是你性格中特殊的一部分。那我们刚刚又有看到一个转承词，这个 transition words 代表呢，这些它有一些副词在英文里面语义上可以连接上下句，就可以带出转折啊、补充或者是因果等等的关系。那这些字就像说我们刚刚讲，老师有提到就是 transition words， 那它的功用呢跟连接词很像，所以呢我们就会用分号或者是句点来跟前面那一句呢做区隔。那如果今天是说呢，语气转折比较，我们比较常见的有 on the other hand， 或者是 however nevertheless， 或者是 in contrast on the contrary， 就是像老师刚刚我们文章中提到的，就是 on the contrary， 就是相较之下。那我们再看那个句子 ，Damien really wants to go to the beach this weekend. On the other hand, he wonders if he should stay at home and finish a school project that's due on Monday. 所以 Damien 就觉得说，好想去海边哦。可是另一方面来说，又是不是应该要在家把工作做完？
All right. So, we're about to talk about more percents because we're talking about HSPs and it's not a condition. And it says the article says around 15 to 20% of people are HSPs. It's kind of a lot. They experience strong physical, mental, or emotional reactions to stimuli. So we have several important words in this sentence. The first one is that we need to know is physical. And this means something about how your body feels or how it is, like if you're cold, if you're hot, if you're hurt somewhere, or if you feel good in your body. That's physical.
所以 physical 就是生理上的，那当然我们可以变副词 physically， 或者是一样物理学的英文就是 physics。
So if we have physical for body, then we also have mental for mind. Now, mental is one of our vocabulary words here. It's an adjective and it's in contrast to physical. It's on the contrary. It's not about your body's actual feelings, but about what your brain makes you think. So mental reactions have to do with things like how tired you feel, if you're comfortable or not comfortable, or if you can think well or if your mind is shutting down. Like if you are feeling very anxious and you can't think well, that's a mental problem. Mental illness is a thing that people talk about often, like being depressed or anxious, or hearing or seeing things that aren't really there. That's a mental problem. Mental health is important to living a good life, just as much as physical health is. So we have physical and mental parts of being an HSP. We're going to talk about emotional in a second, but an example for mental could be, after months of working 80 hours a week, Frank had a mental break. That means his mind shut down, and he had to stay in the hospital.
所以老师讲这个 mental break 指的就是一个 mental breakdown， like 你精神崩溃这样子。那这个 mental 呢，就是崩溃了，所以这个心理上呢，就是会用这个字 mental。那老师刚刚其实更早 ，you talked about mental illness, right, as a condition，它是一个疾病。那我们也可以说 mental disorder，或者是你这是精神失常的意思，或者是你要讲你的精神健康状态，其实英文就是 mental health。那再造一个句子给你们听哦。Constant criticism from his wife has started to affect his mental health.
That doesn't sound very good. No. You shouldn't criticize your husband so much. Gosh.
No.
All right. And then we had this other vocabulary word. We talked about physical, body, mental, mind, and now we have emotional, which I guess you could heart. So emotional is an adjective that is coming from the word emotion or feelings. Emotional health is about how you feel in your heart. Are you sad? Are you bored, happy, angry, confused? That's how you feel. That's your emotions. If you often feel low or get angry at others, you might have poor emotional health. It's normal to feel mad sometimes or sad sometimes, but not all the time. So for HSPs, certain things can affect their emotions too. An emotional person is somebody who feels and expresses strong emotions. When they're happy, they're really happy. When they're sad, they're really sad. That's what it means to be emotional. So an example sentence could be, it's important to do things you enjoy, so your emotional health is good in hard times.
OK，所以我们来看一下 emotional 这一个字 ，emotional 就是情感上或情绪上。那这个单字呢，它的名词只要把 al 拿掉，就会变成情绪 emotion。那所以情绪化人，老师刚刚说了，就是 an emotional person。那我们就可以讲一个人很情绪化，就是 she is very emotional。那情绪上呢，变得很激动，也可以用这个字，比如说 I always get emotional when watching a movie。那老师刚刚提到的字 ，Yeah, I cry all the time. Like some scenes people don't cry about, I cry about it 。对，所以老师刚刚讲的字呢，刺激物就是 stimuli 这个字呢是个名词，那我们等下会讲更多。所以文章是说呢，大概有15，就是大概15到20% 的人都是高敏人，他们对刺激有很强烈的身体啊、心理或者是情绪上的反应。
So the article goes on to say, this personality feature, being an HSP, has both good points and bad points.
所以高敏人呢，这样子的人格特质是有好有坏。
So what are those good points and bad points? Well, we start out by talking about the good ones. HSPs are sensitive to small details and good at talking with others. They often help others process their emotions. I think that's very true. So when we're talking about, being good at talking with each other, processing emotions, so we need to learn the word process. Process is a verb that means to take in and to deal with something, not just emotions, but various different things. But when you're talking about processing emotions, it means you look at them and you figure out what your feeling is. Why are you feeling that way? How does it help you? How does it not help you? That's processing. So actually thinking about the way you feel. Talking with somebody else about your feelings is a way to process them. Asking yourself questions about your own feelings also helps. Another meaning of process could be to turn something from one form into another, like processing food to make sure it can be eaten. Like it might have to be boiled, it might have to be cleaned a certain way. That would be processing. Also, taking and dealing with official things like applications. If you turn in a job application, the company will tell you, oh, your application is processing. That means we are taking a look at it. We're still in the middle of it, putting it through a process, which is the noun. All right, so an example sentence for the verb process. It took me some time to process how I felt about going to college, but now I feel excited to have a new adventure.
所以 process 这边是动词，是指处理的意思。那这个字也可以当名词哦，就是过程的意思。比如说 the process of negotiation went smoothly，代表他们洽谈的过程是很顺利的。所以这个高敏人呢，他们很注重微小的细节，也很会跟人家交谈，那很常帮他人处理情绪上的问题。
So we talked about the good points already, being, good at processing emotions and helping other people. But the bad points are, still stand. So the article says, however, HSPs may get overwhelmed by high stimulus environments and may need to spend time alone. That's very true. So when you feel overwhelmed, you feel like things are just too much. You can't take it. When you're overwhelmed, you don't feel in control. You can't handle what's happening around you. It might make you scared or feel angry or tired. I tend to get all of these things when I'm overwhelmed in an environment. The opposite is actually the word underwhelmed, but it has a little bit of a different meaning. It doesn't mean that you're understimulated. It means that you're not impressed. If something is underwhelming, you're like, it's fine. Whatever. That's underwhelmed. So you expect it to be better. But overwhelmed means you are feeling too much. Now, stimulus or stimuli is a word that we need to learn here too. High stimulus is a thing that causes a reaction from your brain. It can be something as small as touching your phone. That's a stimulus for your finger. That's touch stimulus. Or big flashing lights and loud music at a concert. That's a big stimulus. They stimulate your brain. That's the verb form of stimulus.
所以 stimulus 就是刺激物。那我们刚刚有讲到一个 stimuli， 它是它的复数，所以一个是 plural， 一个是 singular， 记一下。那这个呢 overwhelm 就是指感情上很难以承受或 too much 那种感觉，让你很崩溃，让你感情无法承受了。那文章就是说呢，然而他们可能无法承受这种高刺激的环境，所以这些高敏人是需要时间好好的独处。
So if you feel overwhelmed, overstimulated, that can be really hard. So how do you deal with it? Well, we have another sentence here that says they can get upset easily and may not put their own emotional needs first. That's true too. So what does it mean to put something or somebody first?
就是把什么事成优先。I think it's hard to put yourself first sometimes. You tend to just think about others too much.
Yeah, I think you kind of like think that you're not important. You have to force yourself to look after yourself. Yeah.
That used to happen to me.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
所以这些高敏人其实会有这样子的困扰，会比较容易心烦意乱，然后也可能不会把自己的情感需求放在首位。
So if you put somebody else first, maybe you're not putting yourself first. So anyway, the article says HSPs need lots of time to make decisions because they consider every detail carefully. All right, so we sometimes need a lot of time to make decisions. Maybe not always. But yeah, that's the first day we have explaining and introducing what an HSP is. Maybe this is some food for thought. Maybe this has made you realize maybe you're an HSP. And that could be an interesting thing to know if you want to learn how to deal with your life a little bit better, put yourself first a little bit more. We're going to talk more about that in day 2. But right now, this is the end of our article, and we're going to go right to our For You chat.
For You chat.
Okay, our For You chat question today is, what kind of details do you notice in your daily life? So what about you, Chiklin?
I notice what people wear and their accessories or their shoes, and I sometimes pay attention to people's calves, especially men's.
Their calves?
Yeah,
Like their legs?
I don't know. I just want to see if they have any leg hair.
Oh, interesting.
I'm weird.
I kind of get it though, because it's interesting to see how people's hair is different. Yeah, things like that. I tend to notice people's hair color, haircuts. I also notice when I'm walking, I notice the things around me, immediately around me, more than I think other people might. And so I try very hard to avoid running into things or running into people, even though I sometimes do anyway. Yeah. So yeah, you guys might notice other kinds of details in your life. Think about, what are the things that you think about when you're out and about? What kind of things do you notice? And we're going to talk more about what it means to be an HSP in day 2 tomorrow. So we will see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Vocabulary Review. Sensitive. Linda is quite sensitive to other people's words. She always worries they're saying mean things about her. Aware. I was always aware that Kyle was in the next room because he was making a lot of noise. Condition. After I got the right medicine for my medical condition, I began to feel much better. Mental. After a hard time in his life, Jordan spent several weeks taking care of his mental health. Emotional. Patricia had a lot of emotional problems after her boyfriend broke up with her. Process. Ned had to read his math book and watch several videos to finally process the teacher's lesson.
智慧小补帖
Physical. Stimuli, overwhelm.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net